everybody, my dad thinks his podcast is amazing, so please subscribe, give it 5 stars or whatever, and maybe he'll finally stop talking about it. Anyways, welcome to Sobriety.
So Ryan, what has been the biggest struggle or hurdle that you've had to overcome since being sober? And I'm asking specifically when it comes to like triggers, cravings, struggles, withdrawals, etc.
So right before day one, I was worried about withdrawals. So I looked up online kind of what I would be going through when I realized and knew that I was no longer going to be drinking alcohol anymore. It varies for everybody. Some they can last 2 days, 2 weeks. Hell, I think they can last longer than that as far as withdrawals go. I had 0 withdrawals at all. Cravings, triggers, for 430-something days now, I've had 0. Not a single trigger or craving for alcohol. As a matter of fact, I've been to sporting events. It is all over. It's plastered on billboards, television, everywhere you can see it, concerts. The smell of it disgusts me. That being said, if you know me, and I've shared about this before, I am a compulsive gambler. And fucking gambling is everywhere. It is worse than alcohol. And that has been a trigger of mine. That has been a craving. Because it's all I ever see. As soon as I open up my phone and get on ESPN app to check scores, the first thing that pulls up is, like a DraftKings, whatever. Parlay with these 3 games or whatever. I'm even watching, I'm a huge Red Sox fan, Reds fan, Braves fan. I'm watching the games on TV, and every inning they're showing some kind of parlay. I didn't gamble until I was 26 years old, I think. I started playing poker online.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I started playing party poker is what it was called, and it was fun, and I was really good at it. I picked up on poker real quick. I'm very open about it now, where I never was, and you know that. I have won thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars. Most people, and I still see it on Facebook sometimes and other things, or even I've heard people talk about it in meetings. They go to a casino and they play a slot machine or something. They win like $200 or $300, and they're excited about it, and they remember it, right? They remember it the rest of their lives. When you're deep in it like I was, you do not remember the wins. You remember the losses. And that's what I really remember, because that's how my mood and everything really changed. Depression, big time, hits. The next morning it's, what the fuck did I do? How much money did I actually spend? Because you're mixing alcohol with drinking. And this is at the casino, right? Because I'm a blackjack guy too. Huge blackjack player. So I'm looking at, did I take a cash advance out the night before? And sometimes not even know it. I was real bad about checking my phone, checking my accounts. Shit, how much money did I take out? How much money did I spend? I had a marker at a casino. How much did I take out? I had to call down to find out sometimes. How much did I actually get loaned from you? And I say, it's about, whatever it was, 5,000, right? No, Mr. Stewart, it was 15,000. I'm like, you fucking kid. What did I do? I almost, I want to wring my own fucking neck. And that is when the shit really hits the fan, because that's when it's real. So my first trip to Vegas was a huge success. What was really cool was MTV Music Awards were there that weekend. So I was there for, I think it was 5 or 6 days. And like second night in, I was real timid about playing. You know, I was like playing like $5 blackjack or $10 blackjack. And I sat down with this group of guys that look like college kids. They're up there for me like a bachelor party or something. And we sat down at a blackjack table, and I think I bought in for like $50. I turned into like a couple $1,000s. I'm like, wow, it's pretty badass. The guys that were sitting with me were asking for stuff. Like, I didn't know you could do that, right? So they're like asking for these meals and shit. I knew you were getting free drinks. I said, well, or he asked me if I wanted anything. Well, I already had free drinks. I wasn't really eating because I was drinking the whole time. And he said, well, how about I give you some a couple of VIP passes to Studio 54? Well, I mean, I don't know what I was going to do, but sure, why not, right? So I get passes. Really cool night, by the way. So I get in. I had to, get to pass all these people in line to get it, which was a hopping club at the time, back in '02. And again, MTV Music Awards were just ending. So I go up there and I notice a couple guys, real short guy and real big guy with a beard, and it's frickin' Isaac Hayes and DMX. And they're partying together, and I mean partying. So my dumb ass goes to where I'm not supposed to over by them and said, I want to buy these guys a drink. And their security guy says, nobody buys them drinks. So I just went on about my halftime, and I didn't stay long, but it was kind of that was a neat story of meeting people. But I got that itch, right? So, all of a sudden, I'm winning and I'm winning and I'm winning. And then all of a sudden they give me what's called a host who says, we can give you upgrades. When are you coming back? We'll give you money to come back. Stuff I knew nothing about. Nothing. So I go back home, 5-6 months later, I got the host calling me, hey, when you come back out to Vegas, we will fly you out. Well, that's pretty fucking cool. We will give you a free room. That's pretty badass. We will give you, food comps, whatever, just to get my ass back out there. Well, I used to call Vegas my playground, and I did for a long time because I was going out there 2, sometimes 3 times a year, and literally it was on their dime. And there's no fucking clocks in a casino, ever. Just so you know, ever, ever, ever. And they always try to keep it dark and cool and comfortable so you never leave. And they always keep the drinks flowing, which was actually, that was one of my biggest downfalls, was continuing just to drink and gamble instead of just getting the fuck out. But, still I think back on those times, and they were, God, it was just, to me, it was just like, talk about a dopamine hit. Wow. And every once in a while I'd get that hit because I'd win good. But the problem is, once that shit started fading away and I wasn't getting the free trips out to Vegas because I'd lost money on a couple trips. And they're like, well, what do we need him back for? We got all our money back plus some. And that, the reality just never sat in until right before I quit drinking. I hate that it took me so long to realize that. It was almost like, and you and I have talked about this, I always said, I cheated on you with gambling.
Yes.
100% cheated on you with gambling. Gambling was my wife, and my first wife, my first love, and my mistress for many years.
But when you finally did sit down with me, and I'd like to say that I already knew the truth. Like, I already knew what was going on.
And I knew you knew the truth. It was me actually fessing up to it and talking to you about it.
Right. You sat me down and you said that you would find yourself waking up, whether it be first thing in the morning, middle of the night, whatever, and the first thing you would do would be to look at your phone and see if you had called me, how many times I had called you, and you never picked up. And you would look at your text messages to see, oh gosh.
Yeah, what did I tell her? What does she know?
Well, and what sort of mess do I need to clean up this morning? And this is a universal truth. So with the drinking, with the gambling, it made you mean.
Oh, it was terrible.
Because you hated yourself.
Yeah, I was so in my own, again, my own shitty diaper, my own depression.
Yeah.
I literally flung poo at everybody else.
And
it was awful.
It's funny because you get stuck in this vortex because the way that you would make up for being shitty to people would be to buy
things, yeah.
Things for them.
I used more money to buy off the people I love so that I could feel better about myself the next time I went and lost money.
It really was hard for me. I would go out to dinner and spend $25. And you'd be like, what the fuck do you spend $25 on? I literally remember thinking, he has to have an alarm set on his phone every single time. That really affected our marriage. And then it got to the point where I would...
Well, it was bad because it was almost like I was parenting you.
What I would do is I would say, well, I don't want Ryan to yell at me or be mad at me. So then I started putting dumb shit on credit cards and ended up maxing out all of my credit cards because I didn't want to hear you complain about it. So then that just dug us even deeper. It's tragic because it doesn't just eat away at one thing. It deteriorates your whole entire life.
It's like a domino effect. You know, you start with one thing and it falls, and the next thing, and next thing, and next thing, until you get in the face of it and really combat it. Mm-hmm. It's always going to be that way.
It got to the point where I started manipulating you and taking advantage of you to get what I wanted. And here's the sad, real part. That's what you thought your value was. You thought that no one could actually love you or care for you or stick around.
I thought that way for a long time.
If you weren't
paying for something, doing something.
Right.
For a long time, other than having some friends, I just felt like I was ever around money. Does that make sense? I mean,
we both grew up with limited financial means.
My dad was well off. You know, my mom and dad were well, but he was an entrepreneur. So, yeah, he could have money today, but tomorrow I have nothing, which was great, and I learned a lot from it, right? Because, that's when I grew up learning, like, you really value money. You know, not having it and valuing money all the time, and then you're constantly having people ask you for it because you have it, is the biggest burden in the fucking world. I have been put in some really bad situations from other people to, give them money or whatever, right? Which for some people is not a problem. Even if they have just a couple $100 in a bank account, somebody asks them for $20 and they give it to them, right? And they don't have a problem with it. They don't expect it back.
But when you feel like money is your value.
When you think it's your value, and number two, when you've already used that money in your head for something else, which for me was gambling. That drove my gambling up worse. And nobody knows that but me. Mm-hmm. You probably don't even know that. It felt like I was always trying to play catch up. Somebody needed either, somebody in the family, somebody outside the family, whatever, didn't matter, needed money, or I felt like they needed money. They needed my help. And if I couldn't give it to them, it weighed on my heart so bad because I thought, well, everybody looks up to me. They need me, they need my help, and I can't give it to them. What's an easy way to give it to them? Go win money. I'm good at it. I'm great at playing blackjack. Well, so is everybody else, going in the place. It's not like I had an edge on everybody. It's just the luck of the draw, It just takes a long time to realize that. Here I am thinking I'm this great player, and this guy next to me is, fucking my cards up or something like that. Well, he's costing me my money that I need to go buy this. That's the way I thought. I mean, now, I wouldn't get pissed off at people and, spat off at the mouth. But in my head, internally, I was thinking that shit. That's a terrible way to live. That's fucking tough. And nobody knows the demons that went on in my head when I would try to do something to help somebody. And there was times where I succeeded, right? And then there's times when I failed miserably and it made things worse. And then I woke up the next day with thoughts of shit that you wouldn't even begin to realize how bad it was with me. It was terrible. And, going back and thinking about that is just, that's what makes me not want to do it anymore. I just think back of, a few times where it really took me to a deep place. And I was drinking at the time, so it made it easier to think, right? I never acted out on it, but it was in my head like, what are you going to do now? There is no option. Well, there's always an option. You learn that as you go. There is always an option. There's always an out. And when I finally quit, then it was time to face the music. That was a huge struggle with me, owning up to, fuck, I still owe some money from gambling. And how am I gonna pay this back? What am I gonna do? Well, I got to come up with a plan. Now my head's a hell of a lot clearer. But going through that, for a few months, it wasn't just like it was done in a day. It was like over, a long period of time. Trying to figure that shit out. Wow, you want to talk about renting space in your head. It was every day. Thank God I wasn't, abusing alcohol, because at least I was able to sleep at night. Shit wasn't running through my head. I was able to put pen to paper, write about it, journal about it, helped out. So I branched out a little bit and found Smart Recovery, which also does alcohol. But they also focus on everything else that you could be addicted to, even smoking, overeating. There's many different things in many different walks of life that come into the meetings. And they're more geared towards doing the work. They actually have like a workbook, which I do with the meetings. And that's helped me out tremendously, especially whenever I've had a thought. I just had one a few weeks ago. And the first thing I did was come to you and talk to you about it. Had I not had the tools to do that, I would have kept my mouth shut. And God knows what would have happened. I had planned everything out in my head. Where I was going to go, how I was going to do it. Even if it was for 10 fucking minutes. I thought, I'm going to try it. But also know what 10 minutes leads to. It's like an alcoholic saying, well, I just want one drink. Well, one is too fucking many and 20 is not enough. So, as soon as you just dip your toenail into something, you go all the way. And I'm like that with everything in my life. You know this, right?
Oh, yeah.
Reading, exercising, journaling, I go all the fucking way. And now doing this podcast, right? We find something that we love and enjoy and we dig in and we do it. And, with Smart, it's been nice to be able to hear different sides of the same problem. And, we're all on the same team. We're trying to work towards a common goal, which is, the meeting's great for an hour. What are you going to do with the rest of your fucking day? So when you don't have 20, 50, 100 people around you to hold you accountable, the only person to hold you accountable is you. Not even you could hold me accountable. You know what I mean? It's me. It's all me. Having the tools to be able to do that is what makes everything easy for me. So as I say that, you feel like you get comfortable holding yourself accountable. And then you think, I can back off a little bit, right? Maybe I don't need this meeting that's coming up in an hour or two. Well, one of my friends, good friends, I consider him at Reframe, who's a coach, says the time you don't think a meeting is when you need a fucking meeting. Mm-hmm. And again, it's accountability. Hold yourself accountable, thinking, I've got this lick. No, you don't. You need to get your ass in there and you got to do the work, and you got to keep doing the work. If you love the podcast, which I know you do, please like, subscribe,
and hit that notification bell to get
Boom.
notified every time we post.
That's right. Dropping them, baby. Word.